to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding me? We are the Fantasy Footballers. Welcome back to the show. All of our MCLs, ACLs, whatever it is, they're intact.
Ours are. No one else's.
Yeah, the update. Everyone's dead.
Injury.
That was insane.
It was almost just a comical. Every 2 seconds, I got some sleeper bot alert or some notification. Oh, Kendall Wright. Kendall Wright's gone down. Oh, no. Now Brandon Marshall's laying on the ground.
Cameron Wake's out.
It was a full Greek tragedy that we experienced yesterday.
Yeah, we couldn't decide which direction to go, but we had to say something about this mayhem that took place. I mean, it was a bloody Sunday.
For sure.
And it was, the question was posed everywhere whether any fantasy team really survived injury at all because of the quantity. And so we're going to go through all of those injuries, including the headliner, Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell.
You know, you said this yesterday off the air on our little chat window, but this is a great example, a great reason why you don't quit on your season. Don't quit on fantasy football because crazy things happen and teams who were powerful fall. I know, Andy, a couple of years ago, you started 6-0 and then a couple injuries happened and
I lost like 5 games in a row.
Right, exactly. So
I had the best team in we have our 2 leagues. We have our league and then I have another one that's my main league. I had the best team in the league, Arian Foster, now Le'Veon Bell, and my team is
brutal. Just brutal. It was a tough week for injuries. Week 8. Still got a game tonight. Still got the
there's more chances for more people to get hurt.
Here's another headline from tonight. If the Colts lose to the undefeated Panthers tonight, the Houston Texans are division leaders.
Wow.
They're tied. They would be tied. And the Jaguars would be a game out. Gus Bradley, baby.
So they are the NFC South of this year.
There's always one.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just assumed the Colts would run away with it, but they're doing their best to just make it laughable.
I said during the game yesterday, I was confused why the Houston Texans were wearing Jets uniforms as the Jets defense was not tackling anyone, very not common like the Jets. And then someone tweeted me and said, hey now, don't disrespect. They might be leading the division. That's nuts that Houston, who's played so bad, could actually be in the playoffs.
I lost
Are you talking about Tennessee or... never mind.
No, he was inferring because the Jets forgot how to tackle last week.
Yeah.
And they looked like the Texans previous week.
Oh, because they're division leaders. Yeah.
Yes, and I lost a matchup because of the Jets.
Yeah. The Jets were terrible. I am very glad I benched them in our league of record because I was going to either play, that matchup looked juicy enough, but crossing the country apparently not so good.
Nope.
All right, we've got a good show, a Monday show for you today. We're going to go through the Fantasy Rewind, talk about the Fantasy Stud Muffins of the week.
Have we introduced?
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, okay.
And then we got the Pooped in His Big Boy Pants, our Monday night preview. We got a mailbag today. You can follow us on the web, thefantasyfootballers.com, on Twitter @theFFBallers. You can follow Mike @FFHitman. Follow Jason @JasonFFL. And if you are so obliged to follow me, you can do so @Andy Holloway. And we're on YouTube. We're broadcast on the Fantasy Sports Network, so you can watch us with your eyeballs. That's it. Check out jointhefoot.com, our fantasy football community. It's update. I'm going to be 4-4 in that league.
You started, or
I started 1-4,
and
I wanted the people out there to know you don't have to give up at 1-4, and that I was going to come back and win the championship. And so all I've done so far is win those 3 games. So that's all I'm boasting about as of right now.
And that's
but
also,
I took care of business.
That's including losing Arian Foster. We should throw that out there for owners that feel like an injury means give up on the season. It does not.
It is amazing how much 1 week swings your concept and your perception of your team.
It's true.
because I ended up coming out 5-3 in our league of record, and I was very, very close to being 4-4.
5 points away.
And I can't even imagine if I was 4-4. I'd be like, well,
you'd be feeling totally different.
My team stinks.
I'm 4-4. I feel like I'm on the rise. You would be 4-4, feeling, oh no.
It's a crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like, guys.
Yeah,
Shut up.
I'm sitting up top
6-2.
watching down at you guys saying, hey, that's cute. Battle it out.
That's exactly what we thought when we saw your record. We were like, hey, that's cute. And he finally did it. Quick question. Has this weekend's games changed your opinion about handcuffs? I guess, what's your opinion about handcuffs?
No, my opinion of handcuffs is still the same. First off, the team has to have a clear handcuff. If you find yourself questioning or asking someone, hey, who is the handcuff? That means that nobody is the handcuff to that running back. And it's all the backup running back, when they get to step into the starter role, it's all about opportunity, where we know, because the Steelers have already given us a fantastic look at what life is like without Le'Veon Bell. We know that D'Angelo Williams will be a workhorse. So let's say like the Texans, and they gave us a bit of a preview that we knew that nobody was going to be a workhorse, that you were going to have a bit of a crapshoot to see who's going to be the productive running back. So it hasn't changed. My opinion hasn't changed as the knowing if there's a guy who's in line to get work, he's still somebody I usually want to hang on to, like a D'Angelo Williams or a Ryan Matthews.
Okay, but let me ask you this. What about a situation this week like Matt Forte goes down? Langford is very small owned.
Right.
Small ownership percentage. So it was a clear handcuff situation. But I don't think many people were handcuffing him because they didn't know the talent or didn't like the talent.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, and the snaps from the Bears showed that Langford will be the guy, and there's not much competition for him.
Yeah, he'll be the guy, but the snaps from the Bears also showed that he is no Matt Forte, and so that is it's like we saw with Alfred Blue that he got the ball a lot sometimes and didn't do anything with it because he wasn't Arian Foster. So you've got to have the talent and the opportunity.
I am regretting not spending more money on Fab on Charcandrick West.
Yeah, he evolved again.
I know.
Maximum evolution.
Yeah, he's doing well. So let's get into the Fantasy Rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
All right, guys, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. Le'Veon Bell, torn MCL, out for the season. They're expected to put him on IR.
Expected. Nothing's official yet with Lev Bell, but that's all the news right now.
Steve Smith, torn Achilles.
That one is official.
And Jim Harbaugh said he thought he wouldn't retire. He'd want to come back from it.
I don't know
retire.
if he can, man.
Yeah, that's the question. This isn't will he, how good will he play? It's will he play again?
Yeah, Matt Forte, we're still waiting a little bit more news from him. But it's an MCL, right?
Yeah, the initial report is that he has an injured MCL. We don't know the degree of the strain, or I think it's strain. I think that's the proper medical
they're
word.
talking multi-week, though.
Are they?
That's the last I've heard is multi-week, yeah.
Oh, I've not heard that part.
So wait and see a little bit on the final report on that. But yeah, Langford will fill in for Forte. And he did play through a sprained MCL back in 2009. So it just, maybe he misses a game. Maybe he misses two. But Langford's a nice jump fill-in type of guy. Reggie Bush, the man I woefully spent $10 of fab on like Saturday morning because I thought he'd be the starter over Hyde.
If you are Reggie Bush...
Torn ACL, by the way.
Torn ACL. The outside surface of the Rams playing area got somebody again. This is back-to-back weeks.
It's ridiculous.
He
looked pissed.
I can't even imagine how mad you are. Like,
how much money did they cost him?
Speaking of careers being over, Reggie's going to be 31, I think. He's an older running back, and now a torn ACL.
That relies on quickness.
It's like his career could be over as well because some idiots don't just pay a couple extra bucks and turf out the rest of the area.
That'll be discussed.
So you picked up Reggie Bush, right?
Yeah.
Who'd you drop?
CJ Spiller.
And who else got injured? Kyrie Robinson.
Oh, man.
Kyrie Robinson broke a leg is what it looked like.
Yeah,
Did we get a final report on that?
I have not. What are you reading right now, Jason?
That's what I'm reading. Is almost certainly broke his leg.
He was in an air cast.
Yeah.
So that's not normally a good thing when you're in an air cast being carted off the field. So, yeah, just add him to the list. Cameron Wake from Thursday, torn Achilles. Ricardo Lockett got knocked out.
Yes.
Brutal.
Concussion. Not that he's on fantasy teams, but just another guy that, I mean, it was such a brutal injury. Keenan Allen went down on that amazing corner touchdown catch. He has, apparently it says back spasms.
Yeah, so that's good news because the initial concern was, did he re-aggravate his hip, which he had injured a couple weeks ago. So if it's just back spasms, you would think that moving forward he'll be able to play next week, but you got to monitor this situation here.
So what happened to Calvin Johnson?
Calvin Johnson came down. He went up.
So he left the game, right?
Yes, he went up for a nice grab, came down funny on his ankle, and I'm not sure how beat up he really is with that ankle. Are the Lions on bye next week?
I don't believe so.
They aren't.
I don't.
I'll check that out.
I can't remember.
So it was and because the score, the game was way out of hand. So it might have just been one of those. Yeah, it hurts. So I'm not going to push myself through it.
All right, I'm going to go through these ones fast. You guys tell me if you want to talk about somebody. Josh McCown out with a shoulder. Eddie Royal with a knee. Larry Donnell with a neck. They're saying that's a back spasm issue. Orleans Darkwa went out with a back injury. Dwayne Harris with a knee. Kendall Wright with a knee. And Brandon Marshall had two separate injuries that he came out and said they'd have to be evaluated this week. One was a toe injury, and another one, I believe, was a knee injury. And he came back after both. I saw him wrapping up his ankle. So
yeah, played through them, but you never like seeing a guy getting nicked up. Those things take a toll as they, especially if there's multiple injuries, you're not going to be able to make your cuts as quick and things like that. Also, Larry Fitzgerald, we saw him
ankle.
roll his ankle.
I believe he came back in the game, so he should be okay.
I know we're probably leaving out about 50 other injured players. This was just nuts. There's 12 guys went down for the Chargers.
One thing we didn't say,
Yeah.
Ryan Fitzpatrick's injury could be a multi-week injury.
I was going to get to him. He's besides the Brandon Marshall injury to himself, I think the Ryan Fitzpatrick injury is a bigger deal. He has a torn...
It's a huge deal.
Or not torn, but I misspoke. He has
Ligament
damage to his left thumb. He could not grip the football is what they were saying.
He couldn't grab it.
So let's ask Andy, because Andy is Mr. Jet right now.
I got Ivory, I got Marshall, and this is terrible
You got some
news.
serious Jets shares going that you are depending on. How are you feeling about Marshall and Ivory moving forward if Geno Smith is the quarterback?
My concern is believe it or not, it's much more with Ivory than it is with Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall, I look at very much in the same vein that I would look at DeAndre Hopkins, where the targets have to come his way because they have to come his way. It doesn't mean he'll be as productive because they're not going to be down the field scoring as often without Fitzpatrick behind him. But the offense efficiency and the fact that they're not going to be in that position as often is what kills Ivory's situation for me. Now, Ivory had a terrible game. He still had a goal line carry. He got stuffed. He was 15 for 17, something like that. I mean, just a terrible game for the Jets all the way around. But yeah, I'd be a little bit more concerned with Ivory just from the perspective of, once Bilal Powell comes back, Ivory's not going to get these. I mean, he's racking up his points by catching 3 or 4 passes, even if he has a bad game and doesn't score. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that's fair. And the Eddie Royal injury would put Marquise Wilson back on the wide receiver 3.
That is a great point.
Area.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of guys this week, and there were 2 guys that I am going to talk about in a second, probably at the top of everybody's list. But before we get to that on who were fantasy stud muffins, we want to take a second and thank one of our best sponsors, SeatGeek. We've talked about this app, this website, this way to download and purchase your tickets. NFL season is in mid-swing. SeatGeek is the place to get your tickets. You can download their app for free, and their app will pull in over 100 different places that sell tickets all to one spot. They will show you with the deal score the best priced tickets. You can actually like pinch in and zoom in the app, even on your phone. It is amazing. And there's no captchas and hard things to get through to get your tickets. It's very easy, very streamlined. And because you listen to the footballers, you can get $20 off your first purchase. So here's what you do. You download the free SeatGeek app today. Enter the promo code, which is footballers, in the app, and SeatGeek will send you $20 once you've made your first purchase. Every ticket purchased on SeatGeek, it's backed by a 100% guarantee. So download the free SeatGeek app and enter promo code footballers today.
All right, and I want to thank our sponsor, FanDuel. You've heard us talk about them all the time. Listen, you deserve more fantasy football. I was talking to my uncle yesterday. He has a fantasy footballer sticker on the back of his car, and he pulled into the dealership to get some repairs, and instead of having them service his car, like 5 guys came out and wanted to talk fantasy football with him. He's like, can you just service my car, please? But you deserve more fantasy football, so come and get it at FanDuel.com. You know them. They're the leader in one-week fantasy sports. It doesn't get any better than FanDuel, and it's never too late to join, okay? Believe it or not, November is one of the biggest months on FanDuel because people, they are flocking to it. Some of those people that are sitting with really, really bad records, jump right in. You can draft any player. Your previous season record in your league doesn't matter at all. Jump into FanDuel. Entry fees start at just $1. So go over to FanDuel.com, click on the microphone in the upper right-hand corner, use our code BALLERS, and sign up now. Special offer for new users. For every dollar you deposit, FanDuel will match it with up to 200 buckaroos that gets earned as you play. That's a bonus of up to $200. Hurry, this offer is for you. So don't forget to use the code BALLERS. FanDuel.com, where it can finally pay to be a fan. That's FanDuel.com. Sign up today. Let's talk fantasy stud muffins.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
All right. You guys ever heard of Drew Brees?
Yeah, and you ever heard of Eli Manning?
No.
Yeah.
Not comparatively.
Those two guys,
No,
you want to
kidding.
know what I did this week? So I had a trade worked out to trade Cam Newton for Drew Brees. Straight up. Just straight across. I offered it, and then
I wouldn't have done that.
And then he,
Which side you would not have done?
I would not have traded Cam Newton for Drew Brees this week. I'm
And
not going to
so-
pretend.
Yeah, and so
Like I saw this coming.
I thought about it, and the reason I was thinking about it, I was on Top Dog Stats looking at strength schedules. Drew Brees got a real nice playoff schedule. I thought about doing it for the long run, and then I was like, man, no, I'm
You
gonna.
should have done that.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that.
What an idiot!
I'm gonna play him this week because I also had Eli Manning on my team, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play Cam Newton this week over now Drew Brees and Eli Manning. Those two guys.
Hey, we haven't seen Cam. He might throw 8 tonight.
Yeah, that's his normal MO.
One of the most amazing games ever. 102 points scored, something like that.
Yes.
52-49. Drew Brees, 40 completions, 511 yards, 7 touchdowns. Eli Manning, 30 completions, 350 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Unbelievable. Unbelievable game for fantasy owners. And if you were one of the people who ran into the buzzsaw that was Eli or Drew Brees, I'm sorry. It just doesn't feel fair, especially with... Brees basically doubled his production at the touchdowns for the entire year. He was like 8, and now he's at 15 for the season. Just an incredible... And he looks... The honest truth is, he was hurt. Drew Brees was hurt.
At the beginning of the year.
At the beginning of the year. And
yes.
ever since he's been back from injury, this team's finding their way, and they're not out of the race.
Do you know what's been a big help for him in getting his groove back? Is Benjamin Watson. They tried in the beginning of the year to find the replacement for Jimmy Graham, and there wasn't one. Was it Josh Hill? Who was it? And now they've started to get Benjamin Watson more involved in the passing game, and he's
been great.
Excelled. Yeah, he was your start of the week. Obviously, was phenomenal. Everybody. There is not a Saint offensive player that was not phenomenal, unless you include Kyrie Robinson.
All right, other big games from quarterbacks was Tom Brady had 4 touchdowns. Carson Palmer had 4 touchdowns. Phillip Rivers continued to put up a big week, 301 and 3. Alex Smith had a very good game because he had 78 rushing yards, a rushing TD, and 2 passing touchdowns. And Derek Carr had a monster game. He's the one I wanted to talk about, so I was ending with him.
Yes.
23 completions, over 300 yards in back-to-back games, and 4 touchdown passes. In fact, he hit Andre Holmes. He hit Crabtree. I think he hit Holmes twice, actually.
Yes, he did.
And then did you guys see the Taiwan Jones run?
Yes, very nice.
Taiwan Jones has been impressive because that speed to the edge, and he's a bigger, he's a taller guy. Kind of interesting to watch him run. What do you think of Derek Carr rest of the season?
I have been very skeptical and vocal of my skepticism of Derek Carr. What are we doing?
Send in the car.
Yes.
Send in the car.
And I'm done. I'm done doubting Derek Carr, even in tougher matchups. The dude is slinging it. He's got you guys remember the back when we were growing up and we would wear these T-shirts that said "No Fear" on them,
yeah,
and we were the coolest kids in our junior high in our No Fear gear. Well, I think Derek Carr's got that tattooed on his chest because that dude does not care, and he is getting it done in a serious way.
Justified away the reasons why he was able to throw on San Diego.
Right.
But, he was coming off a bye week. It was their screen game. But then he threw on the Jets. And you know who else he did all right against was the Broncos.
Yeah. And how'd Aaron Rodgers do?
Back foot throw. They were all fadeaways. I thought I was watching Kobe Bryant play quarterback last night.
I
It was so funny.
I think the Raiders might be on their way.
Kobe.
The Raiders might be on their way to the playoffs.
Oh, come on.
No. They legitimately might. They're in the
Hey,
top
I would
right
love to see it. I would love to see them and the Jags face off.
Oh, they'll be so great.
The division leader Jaguars. You have to think back, though. I mean, the Raiders weren't always mentally in your head this, terrible team. When the Gruden days and, Rich Gannon.
Well,
they were a competitive championship team.
Yeah, you just have to think back.
You have to think back. Yeah.
But I mean, since the Super Bowl appearance, they've just been. It's been a mess, and man, the new coaching staff there is really, really turning the team around, along with Derek Carr.
Obviously, drafting Cooper and signing Crabtree renovated their entire wide receiving corps, changed everything about that team. Crabtree looks healthy. Did you see his touchdown?
Yes.
I don't even know how. When you start the process of shouldering a guy at the 10 and you end up in the end zone, that was incredible.
The safety completely pulled up,
Yeah.
but not to take away from Crabtree, but just the defense was horrific.
All right, well, let's go into the wide receivers here. Stud Muffins at the wide receiver position. I want to mention Odell Beckham Jr. He had 3 touchdowns, including 2 that were essentially goal line runs. I mean,
Yes.
They weren't runs, but
They ran through the air.
and a 50-yarder. Obviously, there are going to be some benefits to having a guy throw 6 touchdown passes, and so Odell took 3 of them. Big game for him. I think for owners that saw 4 points from him last week, it was nice and reassuring for him to kind of be the wide receiver leader this week. Julio continued the trend, 12 for 162 and a touchdown. He's the number 1 guy right now, and he'll stay there. Tavon Austin. Whose start of the week was that?
Yeah.
That was your start of the week, Andy.
baby.
And that was a great call.
4 for 98 and a touchdown, and then 21 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. And, he much like Carr, you do it long enough, and I'm on board.
Right.
Because he had enough double-digit weeks in succession. It's a stay-in-the-flame situation with Tavon Austin right now. Speaking of a bounce-back guy, A.J. Green had 11 for 118 and a touchdown. Anybody who bought into him, which you should have, we told you to do, he's A.J. Green. Everybody in the world had this narrative that was like, too many mouths to feed in Cincinnati. Well,
You got one really big mouth.
giant mouth.
It's
giant
easy
mouth.
to throw a football in.
Yeah. Right. Alshon, yeah, he 11 times. Demaryius Thomas had a big game. No touchdown, but 8 for 168 and looked like a monster.
Not only was it so, it was no touchdowns by the hair of a butt, because that guy, if I'm a Thomas owner today,
You would have lost your matchup with that touchdown.
Yeah, so he got taken down, I believe, at the 3 or so, and then there was the little the quick out to him where he got about a half a yard, and the defense stood him up and pushed him out, and I was just sweating profusely.
Your butt hairs were standing on end.
Yes, at full attention.
This is a terrible segment. All right. Alshon Jeffrey, 10 for 116 and a touchdown. Alshon being Alshon. No reason to doubt him. Rest of season, he's a monster. Just stay healthy, Alshon, please. Stefon Diggs, 6 for 95 and a touchdown. I was worried because about 3/4 of the way through this game, he was 3 for 30. And I had told a lot of people in those flex decisions,
to stay in the flames?
I said, I lean Diggs in this one. I lean, Diggs over John Brown. Diggs over, all these guys.
over John Brown worked out very well. He could have been
John
3
Brown,
for 30 and
John Brown
outproduced
burned people because there were a lot of people waiting to start him if he was active because last week he was not much different of a situation with his hamstrings, but didn't even get it on the field. Brandon Cooks resurrected, or is this just 7 touchdowns?
I think it's a circumstance of 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. But still, big week for him. He's still a startable guy. It's just a matter of he hasn't been what we hoped all season long, which is just, and Marcus Colston should be on here. Marcus Colston had a huge game. He was like 112 and a touchdown.
He looked younger and stronger. I saw him throw someone off with it was really whole first part of the season he looked like an old man, and then this game he looked like just some young stud.
8 for 114 and a touchdown, had a 53-yarder, got behind the defense. Obviously, the Giants don't know how to play defense at all.
And we didn't put him down here, but the need for Snead was he was just behind Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, so if ODB, I guess Dwayne Harris was the other beneficiary from Eli's 6 touchdowns, but it was kind of the Watson, Cooks, Snead, Colston. If you had any of them, you were in good shape. And we mentioned him earlier, Michael Crabtree had a big game, 7 for 102 and a touchdown. He's a very wide receiver 2 startable right now. All right, running backs. I don't see him at the top of the list, so I got to add him there, guys. Joik Bell.
I didn't get any messages from you about Joik Bell yesterday.
You mean his 8 a carry average?
He finished
7 for
1 spot
56?
ahead of Le'Veon Bell.
That's right.
It's true.
Yeah,
what?
Joik looked good. He did not do much, and he really doesn't belong in this section. But 7 for 56, I had to bring him up because, now that Carr's doing well, pretty much, I don't know if I've missed on a prediction this year. So it's natural that Joik would come swooping in to win me that bet against Amir Abdullah.
Yeah.
By the way, is Amir Abdullah still on the roster?
Maybe. I'm not sure. We're going to have to take a deeper look. But
he's not still on my roster.
Jim Bob Cooter came in and with the new offensive scheme, and clearly Jim Bob Cooter is a big fan of Joik Bell because Bell got the majority, or not majority,
Riddick
but
did too.
Got a bunch of carries. Riddick was in there, and Amir Abdullah, I believe, played 1 offensive snap where he lined up in the slot.
He had 1 carry.
Oh, he had a carry?
1 carry for 3 yards. Amir Abdullah.
And that's why he was running it out 9 yards deep from the end zone. He's like, I got the ball.
I don't blame him.
Now, I will say the new recipe did not work.
No.
They lost horribly.
Because their offensive line is atrocious.
And Stafford's not playing well. All right. Todd Gurley, if you haven't heard of him, he's a running back for the St. Louis Rams, and he's ridiculous. He's in that category. I was talking to somebody this weekend. Much like AP is still, he can be having a bad game, so to speak, and it just takes 1 play. And a 71-yard touchdown will do it, and it will I played AP 2 weeks ago. AP was having a horrible game into the third quarter, breaks a 60-yarder. It's just his skill set, the way he breaks tackles, he's going to be, I think he's the best guy rest of the season.
Yeah, it's now that Lev Bell is down, I don't blame you for that. And a news memo to the Rams organization. I know that the concrete on the sides took out 2 opposing players, but maybe you want to protect your own guys like a Todd Gurley.
That would be, without question. Ridiculous.
So let's turf up the outsides there, people.
Unbelievable. Yeah, okay, so let's talk. Charcandrick West was 20 for 97 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And Mike's start of the week.
Yeah, I got
also
one.
Caught 4 passes. Dion Lewis had a big week. We didn't get to talk about him very much, but he, on Thursday night, 6 for 93 and a touchdown through the air. He ran through the air with the greatest of ease.
So do you expect, let's say both these guys, the Charizard and Dion Lewis, they're full bore moving forward?
Yeah.
You start him every week until otherwise proven.
I assume we'd take Lewis over West.
Yes, I would.
Yes. Offense.
Because of the offense, and especially if in points per catch type situation. Although West he gets it done through the air too.
Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson both had big weeks. Hillman hurt himself.
Finally.
Hillman hurt himself in the third quarter, gave Anderson many more opportunities than he might have normally had, although I think Anderson would have been the kind of clock-killing back anyways.
Anderson looked okay.
He looked okay. The Packers secondary,
they lost.
for a while. Matthews was out of the game.
When they lost their 2 top DBs.
Yeah, they did.
Shields and I can't think of the other guy's name right now.
Yeah, then they got worn down because the Packers offense couldn't get anything done, and so I don't know how much to make of it. Anderson didn't overly impressed me. He ran through open holes towards the end zone, which is, I guess
that's what
good
was
for a running back.
That's what was missing before from the Broncos was wide open holes. So maybe have they figured something out on the offensive line?
You guys buying into my thoughts that the Denver offense can get it together?
Yeah,
the fact
maybe.
that they can put it together the second half. I mean,
I think
their defense is so far. They're good. They're really good.
Yes, which is what I think limits their offense a little bit. I think
What limits their offense?
their defense being so good. And
He
here's
switched topics mid conversation.
I still don't get it.
I'm saying
How does their defense limit their offense?
their defense limits their offense because they're not going to be in high-scoring games. I'm saying
I
from
see.
a fantasy
I see.
perspective,
Okay.
their defense stops them from having
Because they're going to
Peyton
be a
throw
game
4
like
touchdowns.
There'll be a game like he threw none last night, and there'll be a game like last night where they have to kill the clock for 11 minutes.
And as long as Peyton Manning can get a week off in between every single game, then he'll be all right.
Hey, he got it done. They got it done. So let's go ahead. Latavius Murray had a big game, 20 for 113. I think we're all starting him going forward. Tight ends.
Another start of the week from Andy. I'll say it
I'm on
for you so you
fire.
don't have
Thank
to toot
you.
your own horn
I
there.
was pausing because
Benjamin
of that.
Watson. We already
9 for 147 and a touchdown. I didn't, it's hard to talk through so many great predictions. Ben Watson had a huge game.
Wait, Andy. Who was your quarterback start of the week?
Yeah, I didn't want that to come up.
Okay.
All right, Matt Stafford didn't get it done. I will admit that. I sometimes I throw those in on purpose because I just don't want to overwhelm you guys.
You can't be too good. That just wouldn't be fair to Mike and I.
Because when in doubt, throw Matthew Stafford out there as your start of the week if you need to lose one. Jacob Tamme had another big week. He's been kind of rotating through the top 10 tight ends every 3 weeks or so. But it's nice to see 10 for 103 and a touchdown. Gronkowski obviously had a big week. Heath Miller was back in the fold.
That was the interesting one to me because you saw the offense as it was intended to be, or at least, player wise, and Heath Miller was involved. So that is good news going forward for a guy that's on the waivers.
And
Yeah.
Heath Miller, if you remember, started the season quite well when Le'Veon Bell was out. So he may be a guy to monitor. Or just snatch him up.
Snatch him up.
Yeah.
All right, Gary Barnage. He's legit.
I owe you an apology, Gary.
Yes,
'Cause
6 consecutive weeks
Yeah, at this point,
and double digits.
the Flames are big.
And, if you watch the game, which we obviously did, Phoenix, we're out here watching Arizona come back, thank goodness, in that game.
Oh, man.
He looks fine. I mean, he looks like a top read for Josh McCown. The concern would be if McCown can't play. He's got sore ribs. He looked like he was in agony during that game, but stayed in the game for the most part. Barnage is legit.
Yes,
So keep him going. And then that's it for tight ends. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the guys that struggled this week.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
All right, Aaron Rodgers, guys.
Aaron Rodgers. I believe I said this last week I would start several people over him.
And here's the problem, though, when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers is, do you have the courage to put him on the bench?
Well, I think I
Nope.
said I would do that if I had someone like Andy Dalton, who also stunk.
Oh.
He ended up working it out okay. I mean, Andy Dalton didn't end up quite as bad as Aaron Rodgers, so you would have been okay, but obviously not the game we were expecting there. You know what I'm excited for? I'm really excited for the 29th to see Tom Brady come and play this defense and see who wins.
To play Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be Tom Brady, but
/ Belichick.
yeah.
Yeah, and this was kind of the week of the quarterback. There were not a lot of struggling quarterbacks. If you count Stafford in the big boy pants, which I don't, he had a really bad week. But most everybody else had good weeks. Rodgers was the huge disappointment. If you went into last night's game hoping to get the bare minimum from him to win, you were very disappointed in what happened.
You got the bare minimum.
I will say this. I mean, maybe you give all the credit to the Denver DBs. But the separation wasn't there. Devontae Adams had his first game back. He looked slow. James Jones getting off a press looked like he couldn't do it.
The only one that looked good was Randall
okay.
Cobb.
Yeah, he looked okay, but the first read for Rodgers was always gone. It was just kind of not an offensive performance. I mean, Lacey did okay.
Yeah, he scored.
So, but I mean, just not a good offensive game. You got to just move on if you're an Aaron Rodgers owner.
Yeah,
just wait for next week.
Wash your hands and move on.
All right, running backs have struggled, guys. Talk to me about Gio Bernard.
The Bengals game, the usage was very interesting. Gio Bernard basically didn't touch the ball at all, and he's been highly productive with his touches, so I was very surprised at his usage. And Jeremy Hill, who was actually running pretty well, they had a situation where the Bengals were on the 5 or the 6, first and goal, and they come out throwing. Just throw. Eventually, Andy Dalton throws the pick. So it's I don't know what's going on.
Very puzzling.
With the play calling up there. When you, week after week after week, talk about your running game. We need to get the running game going. We need to get Hill going. Hill's kind of going. You're inside the 5, and then you don't even give him a chance to run it in.
Bernard was 1 for 12 on the ground, 2 for 3 for 22 yards through the air, and only saw 3 touches in the game where Hill had 16 touches. Through the year, they'd been splitting pretty evenly. Now they play the Browns next week. What do you expect from the backfield?
Jeremy Hill show. It's. I think he's going to be running downhill, and he's going to get the ball against a porous.
So you would start him over Gio next week?
Absolutely.
I personally would.
All right. There was some buzz this week about Andre Ellington getting more involved in the offense. He had 3 carries for 0 yards. He didn't catch a pass. Hopefully you didn't play him. But, it's the Chris Johnson show in Arizona.
Even after 2 fumbles, they were
Thank
still
goodness
using
they just
Chris
gave him
Johnson.
the ball back. Yeah. I mean, Chris Johnson was second in the league in rushing going into this game. I mean, he's been getting it done. He looks fast. They're not going to use David Johnson in a huge role, but 109 yards again, 30 attempts for Chris Johnson.
So let's say for the people who your trade deadline or whatever has not passed, Chris Johnson, they're on a bye week. The Cardinals have the bye next week, and the schedule gets a lot tougher for the Arizona Cardinals. Are you buying, holding, or selling Chris Johnson?
Hold.
I think I would hold him as well. He is a starter on a good offense. Even in bad matchups, he's going to get work.
30 attempts? Give me 30 attempts.
Yeah, I mean, because once they got the lead, they just were pounding it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like Jason said. Good offense. Take the top dog in a good offense. All right. Chris Ivory, we mentioned, had a really bad game. 15 for 17. 3 for 24 through the air. Got you single-digit fantasy points, so that's not what you want to see. At the wide receiver position, disappointing game from Marvin Jones, if you're expecting him as a wide receiver 2.
And did you see the hit that Marvin Jones received?
No.
My goodness.
Still breathing, though.
Yeah, he was that occurred when the massacre was happening. Like, it just was a rapid fire of injuries. Marvin Jones looked, pull up the hit real quick. Marvin Jones looked like he was going to have to be sent to the hospital for a ruptured spleen of some kind. It was
smashed
Yes.
by Mike Mitchell.
Yeah, it was
on legal hit.
It was a perfectly legal hit. I'm not calling it dirty at all. Just saying it was a huge.
Now, didn't he leave the
hit.
game for a while?
Yes. Oh, there's no way he couldn't.
No, I know. I'm just saying when we say he pooped in his big boy pants,
There is
injuries to me. I mean, you could say Steve Smith pooped in his big boy pants, but no, he didn't.
I guess that's fair.
There is a screenshot of the hit where he is basically broken in half.
Yeah, he's folded
backwards.
in half. Yes.
I mean,
it was-
Oh, ouch. Wow, good for your spine.
This is a violent hit, I'm warning you.
What are you doing?
I was trying to watch the video and give you the play-by-play on here, but then I got a bunch of commercials. So,
All right. Emmanuel Sanders.
yeah, that's disappointing in a big win.
2 for 22 was a little disappointing. And then the big one for me, and I think everyone was hotly anticipating the return of Dez Bryant. 2 for 12. Richard Sherman said, No, not today, Dez Bryant.
No, Dez Bryant didn't. Oh, there it goes again. Great. I can't pull it up without getting sound. That's a big hit. That was a monstrous hit. I'm glad he's alive. Dez Bryant, I don't know how much you were expecting this week. I hope you started somebody else, but he was still in that category of, like, if he's starting and you don't have a really better option, why wouldn't you want to take the chance on him? Castle, Seahawks, Dez coming back off injury, just didn't work out.
Yep. So, but let's say moving forward now, with Matt Castle as the quarterback, How do you feel about Des Bryant?
Yeah, I mean, wide receiver 2-3.
Yeah, middle of the road, startable guy in your second or third
with
spot.
upside, with end zone upside. I mean, Des, if there's one thing he does, if they can get around the goal line, maybe they give him a shot.
Yeah, that's a big if. But so let's say these other guys who are like twos right now. So a Marvin Jones, a Willie Snead, even kind of higher, a Stefon Diggs. Are you starting Des Bryant over those guys?
No, not right now.
Yeah.
Not right now. So let's go ahead. Jason Witten had a bad week at the tight end position. I'm not super worried about it, but I mean, you're kind of in that you'd rather not start a Cowboy situation unless it's Darren McFadden.
Yeah.
So Darren McFadden was
Just from quantity.
just chipping away. Just
Yeah.
ding, ding, ding,
So
ding.
we got to get into the mailbag. Let's go ahead and answer some listener questions right now.
Mailbag.
All right. If you have a question, you go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Click on the Submit a Question button and send it into the show. We answer a few of these as often as we can. James in Annapolis. Who do you want rest of season, Stefon Diggs or Amari Cooper?
Ooh, that's a clever question. I'm going to go with Amari Cooper. I think Derek Carr's been too good. He's a much better quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater. They're going to air it out more. This week, obviously, I think was matchup based, but I would go Cooper.
Yep, I'm sticking with Cooper.
Yeah, I'll hang with Mr. Cooper. All right. Jonas, not Jones. Jonas in Seattle, huge fan. After last night's game, would you start either Denver running back in your lineup, and which one? I would start Ronnie Hillman.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, you got to monitor the injury.
Correct.
I'm not going to
situation.
start him if he's not playing.
Well, but I mean, like, let's say that Ronnie Hillman is
Never
out.
say never, Jason.
Okay.
Let's say he's out. What is this Fievel? Never say never.
No, it's not.
Would you start Anderson if Hillman is kind of limited all week?
If
Yeah,
he's out,
in the right
I would,
matchup,
I'm
sure.
not saying out. I'm saying limited.
If he's
all
limited,
week.
no, I would not play CJ Anderson.
Okay.
No. Fool me 8 times. All right, Andrew in Newton. Who should I start this week? Drew Brees against the Titans or Big Ben against the Raiders?
Wow.
Big Ben did not look so good.
Are those both road games?
I would have to check that.
Yeah, do you
In
chase?
week 9?
Do you chase the points here? Because
I don't think you're chasing with Brees at this point.
Yeah, I don't think so
Because he's
either.
kind of ramped up.
And the
Yeah.
Titans.
Not that 7 isn't burning hot white flames. It's in New Orleans.
Then
It's
it's
the Titans going into New Orleans.
Then it's Drew Brees for sure.
Yeah, and the Raiders are going into Pittsburgh. But yeah, go ahead and go with Brees.
You get Brees. Brees looks healthy. Big Ben does not. Maybe another week.
You see how slow he was?
Yeah, that's what I'm referring
Yeah.
to. He just the opening drive was great, and then everything after that was pretty rough.
All right, Mauricio.
Mauricio.
There you go. That's way better. In New York City.
New York City.
You can't do 2 out of 1. If next year's fantasy draft was tomorrow, is Todd Gurley the first overall pick?
Yep.
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it's any kind of keeper dynasty, definitely.
Yeah, and
Or
I love Bell is in the consideration.
yeah, but he said tomorrow.
Good point.
So tomorrow, and honestly, Julio Jones will be in. He'll be talked about as a top 3 pick next year.
Connor in Astoria, New York. Hey guys, I'm down 4.5 points going into tonight's Monday Night Football game, and I need to withstand a big victory. I have Hilton and Moncrief with one receiver spot open. Who's a more of a sure thing to come up with at least 5 points? It's not even close to me. The league is full point PPR, and I'm fully aware of the Josh Norman effect. Thanks for your help. T.Y. Hilton going away.
I would say Dante Moncrief.
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna be the tiebreaker here, and
Hold
Andy,
on.
That's just
you and I have a
it's
water
so
bet.
silly.
No, we got a water
I
bet,
don't
right?
Moncrief might have the bigger game.
Oh,
but it's
that's
so
what I'm saying.
It's so silly to say he's more safe than Hilton. I mean, Hilton's their number 1 wide receiver. He gets it every week.
Have you seen? So does Moncrief. Moncrief has been double digits every single week. With
No, he has not.
One exception where they had Matt Hasselbeck throwing the ball in Houston.
I just think it's ridiculous. But
I don't understand
me.
how that could be ridiculous
It's
to say a guy
when-
that's getting
we're
double
talking
digits
about who
is
is
more
go-
safe when he's not being covered by Josh Norman.
We're
So where's the
talking-
water bet here? Straight up, Hilton versus Moncrief.
so last week, Moncrief was 4 for 34.
Okay.
Okay? So if he does that this week, does this guy end up winning his league?
In
Full point PPR, I guess he does.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily... Yeah, okay. There you go. Now you're jumping
why
on 4
won't
for
you
30.
take this bet?
Thank you, Mike.
What is the bet?
It's
he
just
wants-
T.Y. Hilton versus Moncrief.
We already made a bet.
This is another one.
This debate is about getting to 5 points.
I wanna
It's
watch-
not about who's got the highest upside for the game. I'm not making a Hilton versus Moncrief. I don't think Hilton necessarily scores more than Moncrief tonight. I'm just saying from a purely logical standpoint, it's just like saying, okay, Julio Jones is going up against Josh Norman, and you've got Hankerson on the other side.
No.
Who's the safe
T.Y.
for
Hilton
5
is
points?
not Julio Jones.
And Hankerson is not Moncrief. Hankerson has had many worthless games this year. That's what I'm saying is the difference here. Is you've got a good number one and a great number two.
So target wise, T.Y. Hilton, 14, 7, 7, 13, 9. Isn't targets going to give you a bit of an indication of what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
So
I don't have any
here's Moncrief's
disagreement with that.
Here's Moncrief's last 3 weeks: 7, 9, 3. So that's not much different. All right, let me summarize this.
So
for
you will not take the bet? Is that correct?
No. Let me summarize because the bet is not what we're talking about. Let me summarize it. You will win no matter which one you start.
Okay.
That is what I really believe.
Fair enough.
I do believe that you'll win with if you need 4.5 points. Go either way. Are we good?
For me, my rankings say Hilton.
This is not about you,
I'll
Mike.
stick
No, I'm
with
just-
him.
Well, that's the
I'm the
tiebreaker there.
tiebreaker.
So go Hilton.
So Mike's going. This is a Bermuda Triangle. Mike's going Andre Johnson. I'm taking T.Y. Hilton. All right, that does it for today's show.
So according to our friends at Pro Football Focus,
Oh, good. Moncrief has been a better wide receiver than Hilton.
I'm just
okay.
saying Josh Norman has been the second best cornerback in the league.
That's fine. Watch Hilton get 2 tonight, and I kill this guy, and then we're all sad.
One of us won't be.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, we're out of time. This is Andy Holloway, Mike Wright, and Dante Moncrief. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for listening to the show. Talk to you later.
Go to jointhefoot.com. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.